So I want to go over the multi-divisional form of organizational structure. It is the one that's most prevalent in larger corporations, probably some of the corporations that you're going to work for one day. There certainly are other structures. There's the simple structure, the functional structure. There's some of the other structures that we go over in this lesson. But the M form is pretty prevalent, so I want to make sure I go over it. So in the M form, what we're going to have is we're going to have our TMT or headquarters level, okay? And that's going to be CEO and the CEO's direct reports. And these are going to be the typical kind of top executives that you know of. The CFO, which is the Chief Financial Officer, the COO, which is going to be the Chief Operating Officer, the CIO, which could either be the Chief Information Officer, it could be the Chief Investment Officer if you're more of a financial firm. And there could be other things that are at this level. These are just kind of the three typical ones that we would see. So we're going to have our TMT, or headquarters level, and this is going to be centralized, right? So this is going to be corporate-wide. They're going to be making strategy for corporate-wide. But imagine that you're in a really complex organization, not just hundreds of employees, but thousands of employees, or tens of thousands of employees. And maybe you're in North America, South America, Asia. So you have a complex either geographic scope or a complex product scope, product or service scope, or both, okay? Now, the way we're going to break the corporation down then is actually to break it down into mini corporations. And these are going to be called SBUs, which stands for Strategic Business Unit. You could also see these being called divisions, which is why we call it multi-divisional. But these days we call them SBUs. So in my fictitious company I have here, I have our TMT or HQ level. And then we're going to break that down into SBUs. Now, strategic business units are normally going to be of one of two varieties. They're either going to be geographic, so this would be North American, South American, Asia, and Africa, or they're going to be by product. So I don't know, home goods, commercial goods, et cetera, et cetera. Then underneath each product, you may have geographies, or underneath each geography, you may have products. Okay? Imagine this complex organization where it's not so easy where you just have kind of a functional structure. We covered functional structures in the text in this week's lessons. Now, each SBU is actually going to have its own CEO. It's actually going to be like a mini corporation within the master corporation, and there could be much more than four. There certainly could be dozens of these. Okay, I just have four drawn here because of space limitations. Now, underneath each SBU, okay, so underneath each mini corporation within the corporation, you're then going to have a functional structure. So when you looked at functional structure as an actual organizational structure, you basically had the CEO, and then underneath the CEO, you had marketing and HR and finance and accounting, et cetera. And that was it. But in this case, you're going to have headquarters and then divisions. And then in each division, you're then going to have a functional structure underneath the SBU. Now, in the real world, it gets much more complex than this. So in the real world, if we were looking at, say, Microsoft, and we would say, okay, well, say one of the SBUs is, operating systems. And then underneath operating systems, you could have, obviously, you could have a functional structure, but you also may have it broken down in operating systems for computers, operating systems for mobile, operating systems for tablets. So you may have those other breakdowns within the SBU, as well as a functional structure in the SBU. Okay? So the idea here is we need to make decisions, and we're too complex to have a decision-making mechanism or apparatus where it's just the CEO and then some direct reports. In this case, we're going to have CEO, direct reports. We're going to call that headquarters or TMT. And then we're going to have this further structure that goes down. And of course, we're going to have all these people working under this SBU, all these people under this SBU, and all of that information is then going to flow up the corporate level so that the corporate level can make decisions for the corporation as a whole.